Hi everybody, thanks for stopping by my channel today. Today I'm going to show you how to create a design for a wine bag very similar to the one shown. If you're not into designing and you just like to watch, there's a link in the description below where you can purchase this file from my digital Etsy shop. If you're not into crafting and you like to buy things ready-made, there's also a link there for my other Etsy shop where I create the product and mail it out to you. I've also included several more links in the description. Some of them include where you can purchase the blank wine bags on Amazon, how you can get Photoshop to do your design work, and also for a site called VECTEEZY. And that's a subscription-based site where I get all my elements for my design work. One final thing before we get started with the tutorial. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit the bell notification so you can be notified when I post new videos. I'd love to hear a comment on what you thought and what you plan on creating. So the template for the wine bag is 7 inches wide by 17 inches high. It's at 300 dpi. You can go ahead and create a new document. I do have a PSD copy of this template in the Patreon link below. The first step in creating a wine bag design is filling in the background. If you don't fill in the background, anything that's not filled or shown as transparency will stay white on your template. I like to fill the whole thing in. You can either fill it in with some kind of color by using your flood fill tool. Black is pretty popular. Let's get a nice pink color. Let's try this. So if you want a pink wine bag, you just pick your pink color that you like and flood fill it. If you don't want a solid color, you can fill it with some kind of a pattern. The pattern that I used in the template that I showed at the beginning of this video is a splash design that I created in Midjourney using AI. You can also get seamless patterns on VECTEEZY. There's all kinds of them there. Let's go in and have a look and see what we can find. So I'm here in VECTEEZY. I'm signed in, so that means that I can download whatever I want without any having to attribute the file to anybody, or there's no limitations on what or how much I can download. I'm thinking a rose background for this wine bag. Rose seamless pattern. I have vectors chosen. I'm going to change that to a PNG. Rose seamless pattern in a PNG. Let's hit our enter button and see what we get. Okay. So some interesting seamless patterns here. Some of them have transparent background. Some of them are not related to roses. Let's see. I kind of like this one. I think I'll go with this one. So I'm going to download that, and I'm going to change the base color of my background to a black, I think. Download. So when it gets all downloaded, it will let you double click on it to open it up, and it should open it up in Photoshop. So this is our seamless pattern. I'm going to leave the transparency alone. I'm just going to change the background color of the wine bag. So to use this seamless pattern, you have to go into Edit, click Define Pattern. You can give it a unique name. It already has a unique name. That's the name of the PNG file. I'm just going to change it and call it Roses Pattern. Hit OK. Alrighty. Now I'm going to go back into our wine tote template, and I'm going to double click on this. This will open up our layer style palette. So you want to go to where it says pattern overlay, click in the little checkbox here and click on it. So I've already chosen a pattern for a previous project, so the last one I use is the one that'll show up there. So if I click on my down arrow, it's going to show all the different patterns that I have in here. So this is the one that I'm looking for. Say OK. So it's transparent, but it's on a pink background. I'm just going to click on this layer. I'm going to hit Control A, and I'm going to flood fill that with black. Okay, you see the difference that it makes? I find those patterns are a little bit too close together. Or sorry, they're too big. So we're going to change the scale of the pattern. So we went back into our layers palette. We'll just scale it down a little bit. That'll give us more roses, and it will make them smaller. Say OK. Now we have these roses overlaid on our pattern of roses overlaid on our background. They look a little weak to me. I think most of it must be transparent in itself. Oh, opacity. Let's turn our opacity up. There we go. That's what was going on there. Okay, I like that much better. Just maybe turn them up a little bit bigger. Okay, that looks a bit better. Okay, let's say OK to that. Now, next thing we want to do is put some kind of a quote or image or some kind of saying or logo or whatnot within this area. So when I designed this template, I designed it with the guides 1.5 inches from either side, and the first guide from the top is 5.5 inches from the top of the template, and the last guide down is at 15.25. That way when you press this bag, you know that anything inside this area is going to be within the range of where it should be. So let's go back into VECTEEZY and let's get some wine quote ideas. Let's see. Let's go into Vector. And we'll type in wine quote. Okay. It's 1 o'clock. That's more quirky, and with the nice rose romantic background, we want something a little bit more refined, I think. Wine lover. Here's some. Hit me, baby, one more wine. That's a good one. Not actually what I was going for. How about this? Sip me, baby, one more time. Okay, let's grab that. So I'm going to download that. Originally, I guess it was designed for a t-shirt, but it's going on our wine bag today. Download. Okay, so it's in a zip file, so we got to double click on the zip file. Chances are it will be a vector in there as well as a PNG or a JPEG. Yep, we got a JPEG. I'm going to go with the JPEG. Usually I would go with the EPS file or the vector and open it up in Illustrator, modify it however I like, and then import it into Photoshop. But today I'm just going to grab the JPEG file, double click it, and it should open up in Photoshop. Okay, so this is the part that we want. So I'm going to crop this out first of all. I'm just going to get my rectangular marquee tool and I'm going to drag a rectangle around it. Okay. I'm just going to go in here on our image and crop. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is try to get rid of the black. But I don't want to get rid of the black on the inside of the letters. So to do that, we get our magic wand tool. We make sure we have contiguous hit, because if you don't have contiguous hit, it'll take out the black inside here, the black inside the E. We just want to get it with the outline. Okay, so I'm just going to turn off my background layer here. It's a background layer right now, but if you click this little lock button, now it's not a background layer anymore. Now it's just a regular layer. So I hit Control D to deselect it. I'm going to click it with the magic wand tool, and you can see that everything is outlined. So when I hit my delete key, everything goes away. I still have the black inside here, which is what I was going for. So I'm going to hit Control C, go back into my wine bag template, and hit Control V. And I don't know where it went. And I know exactly why. When I clicked in here with my magic wand tool, it selected everything between the edge of the letters to the outside. And I deleted it. And that's what's still selected. So in order to get what's inside of that, you got to hit Control Shift I, and that will invert the selection. Now I can copy all this stuff over onto the other file. So hit Control C. Now we're going to hit Control V. Okay, so we have it here. Just hit, I'm just going to zoom this in a little bit because it's kind of hard to see right now. So you hit Control plus plus plus. Plus. So that's what we have. It's kind of small, so we're going to hit Control T, and we're going to make it as big as the specified area. So I'm just going to drag it out. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, these letters, anything that's red, I'm going to change it to a very hot pink color. So to do that, I get my magic wand tool again. I make sure contiguous is not checked because I want everything that's red. Okay. So I'm going to change that to a pink. So get your eyedropper tool and you can choose a pink from one of the roses here. Let's grab this pink. Now if we go in here, we can go up a shade higher if we want. So let's grab that. Okay. Now I'm going to get my flood fill tool and I'm going to click in there. Now when I hit Control D to deselect, it's a little bit more pronounced. So what I want to do now, I want to put a shadow on this, but it's not going to be done using a drop shadow. I'm going to do it using a stroke. So I'm going to double click. Double click. Okay, so when I choose my stroke, it's going to use the stroke that I used last time. And that just won't cut it. That's not good enough. So I'm just going to zoom this out a little bit here so you can see it. Because we want to make this nice and visible. We kind of want to make it pop out a little bit. So, right now the stroke is set to a 35. So if I make that a little bit bigger, it's going to spread out more, but it's not going to be any more pronounced. So if I turn the opacity up, you can see that it's getting a little bit more pronounced. So now that the opacity is up, if I turn up the size, it's looking a little bit better here. Okay. So I have the fill type set to gradient. I have gradient chosen. The style is shape burst. And the angle is 89 or 90. I can change the angle, but it really doesn't matter that much with this. So I'm going to go in and modify this gradient a little tiny bit. So right now our gradient is set to black on this end and 100% opacity. Down at this end it's 0 color and it's set to 0 opacity. So between this point and this point is gradually going to fade out to black to nothing. So if we drag this down a little bit, see what the effect is there. So we want to make it a little bit darker background, but we still want to have that faded edge. So I'm going to go with that. And I'm going to say OK. Now if we zoom out, that looks pretty good. I think we can stretch this down a little bit so it's covering a little bit more of the printable area here. First I'm going to get my move tool and I'm going to move it down a little bit. Oops, not that. Make sure your right layer is selected. Oh, I got auto select turned on. Let's turn that off. Just click this layer. Now we'll just grab that and move it down a little bit. The reason I'm doing is because sometimes when people order these bags, they want some lady's name put on them. And how I would do that is if, say, Jennifer wants this bag for her friend Cassandra. I would type Cassandra in here, then I would go in here, right click, copy layer style, and paste it, and it would give you the same little bit of glow. So I'm going to stretch this down a little bit, so I hit Control T, drag it down. Whoops, it's not dragging proportion, it is dragging proportionally, we want to stretch it, so hit your Shift key, and there. Okay. So let's get our text tool, our horizontal type tool here. The font I have chosen is called Auckland Hills. I have it in a pink color. Let's try that. That's the same pink as we filled in this graphic with. So when I hit my horizontal type tool, it's set to a 24 point. We want to turn that up to about a 72. Okay. So that's out beyond the bounds where we want it, because if you press it like this, chances are that you might get a piece of this cut off or a piece of this cut off, or one side might be too close to the edge and the other side might have too much space between it and the edge. Let's just type in our word first and see where we're at. So double click, hit Control A to select it all. Now type in Jennifer, or Cassandra, we said, right? C-A-S-S-A-N-D-R-A. So the name Cassandra falls within the bounds, so it's all good. So you're saying to yourself, you can't see that very good, and no more you can't. What you got to do, as I showed you before, right click on layer 2 to get the same style that we applied here. Click copy layer style. Now on the name itself, you right click, hit paste layer style. So that's a little bit intense for that name. I think we can tone that down a little bit. Double click where it says stroke. Now your stroke is going to open up. The size, we can turn it down a little bit. Oh, there goes my phone. Always going on. Okay. So we turn the size down a little bit. I don't pay too much attention to the numbers. I just go by what looks good to me. Okay. Alrighty. I think that looks pretty good. Opacity is up to 100%. I don't know if we kind of do need that. Alright. So we'll hit OK here. I want to move this down just a tiny bit. And I think that's good. So there you go. I think we have our wine bag designed. So I have a mock-up here somewhere. So now that we got our final design, we're going to add it to our mock-up so we can see how it's going to look like on the wine bag. So hit Control A to select it all. Now that you've got it selected, hit Control Shift C, and that'll copy all the layers as one. We're going to go into our wine bag mock-up file here now. This is the one that I did for the one that I showed at the beginning of the video. So we're just going to find our smart objects here now. I'm going to double click on this smart object. I don't know why I got so many copies of this in here. I'm just going to delete a couple of these. Actually, I can delete them all. Okay. Now we're going to hit Control V to paste. So it's way too big. If I hit Control T, you can see how big it is. So we're just going to drag the corner of this down now and scale it down until it gets to the size of the space there. We're going to pop it in there. Okay, so still big. Take it down a bit more. Okay, that should be good. So hit enter, and now we're going to hit Control S to save the smart object. When we go back to our mockup file, whoops, that's not our mockup file. Okay, so that's how it's going to look on the wine bag. I think it looks a little bit too big. I'm going to go back into our design file and Cassandra and this Sip Me Baby One More Time. I'm going to hold down on my shift key and select both layers. I'm going to hit Control T and I'm going to drag that down a little bit, make it a little bit smaller because I think it's too big. You don't want it to be too big. You don't want it to be taking up all the space. Okay, so now center it up, put it where you figure it should be vertically. So now click in your background layer here, hit enter. Hit Control A and Control Shift C to copy. We'll go back into our wine bag file here, double click on our smart object, paste this again, Control V, hit Control T to resize it, drag it down, scale it down. Let's turn this one off. Okay. Drag that out and center it. Hit enter. Now go back to your mock-up. I didn't save it, I guess. Let's see. Hit Control S to save. Okay, it should be saved now. Okay, I think that looks much better. Yeah, it looks way better. So now we just want to put the design on the open wine bag as well. So I have it set up here with 2 groups. Okay, under open, we click on that smart object. Okay. And we can go into our closed smart object, hit Control A to select all that, Control Shift C, go into our open, hit Control V, hit Control S, go back to our mock-up, and there we have our Sip Me Baby One More Time wine bag design that can be personalized. If you enjoyed this video or you're interested in learning more about Photoshop design for sublimation, please subscribe to the channel. I plan on offering a lot more different tutorials on all different types of sublimation products. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. Thanks for watching.